everyone, welcome to another episode of Convos with Sazón with yours truly, Cata Mejía. With me today is Danielle Alvarez, the founder and the CEO of the Bonita project. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. I'm here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, and I'm really honored to be sitting here next to you. And let's see what are we gonna talk about?
Well, thank you for joining me. I'm super excited to have you here. I met you about 2 years ago, actually, to the date where the Bonita project turned 5 years old.
That's
but prior
right.
to that, I didn't know who you were. The immediate first impression was, okay, she's a vibe. She's a vibe. She's a boss who knows how to have a good time. And then I looked further into the Bonita project. But for those who have never heard of you nor your agency, tell us a little bit about that.
So I am Peruvian American, born to Peruvian parents. I was born in New Jersey, Patterson, New Jersey. So anybody out from Patterson, stand up. But I left when I was 8 years old. I went to Florida with my mom. Grew up by a single mom, or raised by a single mom, and I grew up in Florida, Miami to be exact, and went to the University of Florida, majored in PR. So at a very young age, I would say like in high school, I kind of already knew what I wanted to do. I've always liked to be in the spotlight. I'm a former dancer. I like to be on stage. So I do like to be on camera in the sense, like, and this is pre-social media.
Please feel right at home then.
Yeah. This is pre-social media. So, but I've always liked the spotlight. I liked entertainment. And when I started learning about like what PR was, event production, I was like, okay, that seems to be my calling. So then I went to school at UF, majored in PR, communications, and then I knew it in my heart that I wanted to come to New York. New York was a very big dream of mine. Even though I had only been to New York maybe twice in my life before that, but it's still close to New Jersey. Like my mom was like, "Are you sure? Do you really want to do the move to New York?" And I knew it. I was like, if I don't go to New York now, I'm going to get too comfortable in Florida, and I'm going to stay behind in Florida. I'm going to meet a guy, and then who knows, maybe my life will take a different path. But I knew that I needed to leave right after college. So I moved in 2011. So I graduated summer of 2011 from UF, and then 2 weeks later, I booked my one-way ticket. I came to New York. However, I had support here. You know, it's not easy for anyone, you know, especially if you don't come from much money, to like just come and pack your bags and come to New York. New York is a very expensive city, as we all know, especially for us that we live here and pay rent here. So I moved, and I had an uncle here that was living here at the time, and he was like, you know, open arms. He's like, Danielle, whatever you need, come here, and you can crash in the living room until, you know, you get your feet wet, you get a job, and then, you know, we'll figure it out. We're here to support you. And also, my dad is in Jersey, but I didn't want to go to Jersey. Even though, you know, I was born in Jersey, but I was like, I don't want to go to Jersey. I want to stay in New York. So the first couple of months, I lived in Queens. Actually, the first 6 months I lived in Queens. My first 6 months of New York, I lived in Queens. And then I did get a job 3 months in after moving. You know, and I speak about this on my Instagram too. I recently actually did a Mentor Monday TikTok live, which is something that I'm doing on a weekly basis for my audience, and because I do work with like a lot of kids and like college students, and I shared that, you know, I also experienced a recession technically. Like when I graduated in 2011, I was getting scared because I was hearing stories about people having a hard time securing a job right out of college. I mean, yeah, this was 2008, 2009, 2010. It was still pretty rough. The job market was not that easy, and I had to start as an intern everywhere. I mean, yeah, I was basically working for free for the first couple of months. I think at one point I was juggling like 3 different unpaid internships when I first moved here, and then working at Queens Center Mall at Armani Exchange to like, okay, make some money because I needed to make some money. And then, I mean, thankfully I wasn't paying rent at my uncle's, but
we have needs.
We have needs, right? We had needs. So I was like trying to make ends meet, but I needed to get my foot in the door. I needed to get something. I wasn't being picky at the time. I was like, yes, the dream was to work in fashion. And I didn't even know that I was going to end up in beauty, which is another piece of my chapter. But I wanted to work in fashion because that was the cool thing to do. And like, that was like, it's always been the cool thing to do. You know, we're from the generation of like Devil Wears Prada. And like, you know, we grew up watching Laguna Beach and The Hills. And like, those were my reality TV shows growing up. So I saw these girls like Lauren Conrad and Whitney Poore, and I wanted to follow their footsteps. also. We didn't see much Latinas doing any of that in the early 2000s, but I assimilated. I was like, I never wanted to be and look like una gringa, like a white girl. But, I can code switch easily. If I have to like talk like a white girl, I'm going to do it. Like I will so for sure assimilate if I need to. I'll code switch quickly. But I also had to learn that the hard way. But anyway, so 3 months in, after, moving to New York, I started an unpaid internship at an agency that's very reputable here in New York City. And I think a month in, I got a job offer as an account coordinator, and that opened many doors. So to fast forward, I was at that company for almost 7.5, close to 8 years. And I learned a lot. The ups and downs. It's not a fun It's not, no. It's a fun industry, but it's not what it all looks to be like on camp. Like what you see. It's not glitz and glamour. It's not. And I worked in beauty. I started working in beauty. I stepped away from fashion because I also got a taste of fashion through those unpaid internships. And I was like, I don't know if this is actually for me.
And I think that's important. Yeah. Mentioning just very briefly what you were saying, got a taste of it. I think it takes seeing it for ourselves in any capacity to be like, okay, ya calmé fiebre, ¿es para mí o no es para mí? And then you can kind of move on.
And it was not, I don't know. I mean, maybe it has changed, but it's a very mean girl vibe, very mean girl energy. Yeah, energy, and it's just it was intimidating. So I was not for that, but beauty, yes. And when that opened doors, I started working on the beauty team, and then fast forward, I started consulting on the multicultural side, which is also something that I did not even see myself doing, because what's funny is, like, I always said, like, I'm leaving Miami because I don't want to get trapped in the LATAM bubble. Because, there's agencies in Miami. There's a lot of PR, global marketing agencies in Miami that are based there, but a lot of them do a lot of work across Latin America. Like, that's what their specialty is, because, Miami is, like, the little mecca of, like, all Latin American cultures. So I didn't want to do that. I did not want to do that, and then that followed me here. Like, when I came here, and then I started, I met with my boss, and like I met with different people, and they saw that, okay, you're bilingual. Okay, well, there's a need for that. Like, what are your thoughts of, like, helping us set up a multicultural division here? And I was like, well, okay, sure, yeah. Anything to get a job. But I didn't know that then that eventually will kind of, yes, it'll be a perk for me, but at the same time, it's gonna be a challenge, because we were not having those conversations early on about, like, who is the token POC person at the workforce and in the company, and that kind of turned out to be me, So I didn't see that coming. I didn't know what the hell tokenized meant, what being the token person meant at work. Later on, I learned and I experienced things, and I'm no longer bitter. I grew out of that, but I was towards the end of my chapter there. I was getting frustrated. I was very bitter. I was annoyed. I was not happy. And I wanted to part ways. I was like, what's the next step? Do I go to another big company? Do I go to another agency? Do I go in-house to work for a brand? I started putting some feelers out there. But then as I'm, like, learning from other colleagues of mine, they're like, Danny, the grass isn't greener. It's not much greener on the other side. You're going to face the same challenge. It's not easy. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do? So I'm like, well, then I can consult. I can consult and see how that goes. And I started asking around, like, within my network, because between those years that I worked at said company that I was at before, like, I did build my network, and that network till this day followed me. If it wasn't for my network of people and my contacts, because I did a hell of networking during those years, like, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. I was always nice to everybody. You never know who is going to open those doors. Like, I was never, because she doesn't work somewhere, I'm not going to even entertain her. You never know where that person's going to lead you to. Never. So always stay humble is my thing, right? So when I started floating around the idea to my, like, some of the people on my network, like, hey, I'm thinking of consulting. Like, what do you think? They're like, Danny, do it. Yes, I had some people that were like, are you sure? Are you financially prepared? And then some other doubt came into me too, because, when working in this industry, you have a tag next to you, like, working for said company kind of makes you look, oh, she works for so-and-so, that makes her look cool, or like it opens doors. But once you're no longer attached to that company, I don't know if people are going to even care for you the same or going to, you know what I'm saying? Like no one's going to.
There's also a level of credibility, I'm sure,
Right.
that comes to with it as well.
Exactly. That level of credibility, I might lose it because I'm no longer with that company. Is anyone going to give me the time of day because I no longer have these cool brands attached to my like what's going to happen? But I said, you know what? I'm going to test it. And my mom, not for nothing, my mom was a very big cheerleader for this. She was like, Danny, do it and test it again. And if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to a regular 9 to 5. Like you're not, you have a great resume. It's going to be okay. And I said, okay, fine. Yeah, let me try it. Let me test it. Let me test it and see how this goes. So in 2018, I quit my job and I launched the Bonita project. And it was born out of a need for me to educate brands on multicultural marketing. But doing things the unconventional way, the non-traditional way, I can be myself. I can challenge brands. I'm a little sassy on the gram. I might poke fun at myself. I might poke fun at the industry. I might poke fun at the bullshit that we deal with sometimes, like even the racism, because there's a lot of that's not openly discussed all the time. Like a lot of people that sit in the C-suite level at some of these big companies don't look like us. And like that trickles down to people like us, and then we're the ones trying to do the work. And then what happens is like I work in the beauty space. Then you see the beauty brands getting backlash because they launched a line that wasn't inclusive enough, or they launched a foundation line that didn't have enough shades. Well, who was behind the scenes? Who was at that table to make those decisions, to approve that? Did that float around anyone like me, or maybe someone within another community, POC community, that can say like, actually, you're missing this, you're missing that. So like this is where DEI comes in, So like I kind of became a DEI police at my old job, and I noticed that I'm like, you know what, like it's not that where I was they didn't care. It's not that they didn't see the importance. You can't force something on people that just they're not surrounded by those type of cultures, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Like if they can grow up with that, if people are complacent with how they do things, then I was like, you know what, my time here is done. Like I need to just do my own thing and see how that goes. So 2018 came along. I launched the Bonita project by myself, and then like little did I know that I was gonna slowly build a team, which that now I'm very proud of. But yeah, it's been a journey. So 2018 to now, yeah. I'm actually going to celebrate 7 years next month.
That's so exciting. Yeah. First of all, congratulations, because we haven't gone quite as deep yet into that journey, but it's already been a lot.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question. Mm-hmm. How did you decide on the Bonita project as the name?
Oh my God.
What was your thought process? I feel like there's a story there.
Well, you're going to laugh. So you're going to laugh. So the name actually came about. So the summer before I quit my job, summer of 2017, I went to Colombia Moda. I know I went to Colombia Moda. I went to Medellin, and I went on like a solo networking trip for myself. This was a time that like I started to see a lot of Latin American fashion brands like doing amazing things, and like I have to give it to Colombia, and like a lot of Colombian designers
I can't take credit for that. Vamos Colombia.
Are doing so well, and like there's just such another fashion world that's not like tapped into. I mean now for sure like there's a very big scene for that, but in 2017 you weren't seeing much of that. Like you weren't hearing much of that. So I heard about Colombia Moda as an opportunity to go. I took some vacation days, and I was like, I'm going for a week, I think, or like a few days. To attend some shows, do some networking, and see how that goes. And it was very eye-opening. I felt so cool, like, you
you are cool. Hello.
Oh, thank you. Well, but I felt so cool to be like at a big fashion week moment, but in Colombia, like in Latin America. I was like, this is so cool. And there's gorgeous designs, like gorgeous fashion lines. And at the time, during that trip, the song Bonita by J Balvin and I think Joelle Grande is on that song, was playing. Like, and whenever you go on a trip, whenever you're on vacation, there's always a song that's like attached to that trip. Like, oh my God, that song reminds me of my trip, my trip in Colombia. So they were playing that song. I first heard the song there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the music video, they actually filmed it in Medellin, because there's a scene in a bar and I actually happened to go to that bar during that time. So like, it was like very
Kismet.
yeah, I was like, I loved the song. I loved the song. I loved the trip. The trip was beautiful, was eye-opening, and I think it was at that trip that I was like, okay, I think I need to, I started getting the itch. I was like, I think I need to consider my next move. Like, what is it? Do I consult? Maybe I can, work. Maybe I can start work in fashion again. Like, maybe not work in fashion again, but like maybe I work in fashion, but it's in the LATAM space.
And under your terms.
Yeah, and under my terms. So I thought of it, and I was like, okay. But anyways, that became like my mini anthem from that trip, and I was replaying and replaying. And then eventually the song came here. But, the song always hits first in our countries, or in Colombia, rather. And it was playing and playing. And then when that was Colombia Moda is like in July. Now it's like fast forward to December, and I think that's when I was like, okay, it's either now or never. What do I do? I need to start planning my exit. And I gave myself like a timeline of like 3 months to exit the company. I was like, I'm going to stay here till end of year 2017, but in early 2018, I'll leave. And then when it came down to the name, so I needed to file an LLC, and I did it on LegalZoom. So shout out to LegalZoom, because they're very great to support small businesses and like entrepreneurs that want to file in the state of New York, anywhere. So I did that, and when it came to brainstorming the name, I'm like, what do I name it? Like, what's gonna be the name of this company? Because a lot of the times, like the OGs in our industry, and especially in PR and marketing, they name it after themselves. Like, there's a lot of companies, if you actually come to think of it and like even look online, like they're named after someone, like so-and-so communications, so-and-so PR. It's very, like, for instance, I always use the Samantha Jones PR example, right? From Sex and the City. That was the thing. You named it after yourself. But I'm like, my name is not Danielle Alvarez PR. Like, that's so, even though my Instagram is still Danny Alvarez PR, because that's from 2011, literally. But I was not going to name it after myself. I'm like, that's not sexy. It's like, wow. Like, I did not, no, I wasn't feeling it. So then I was like, Bonita. I don't know if I was listening to the song at the time, but something sparked because of the song. I was like, okay, I'm in the beauty space. Bonita. Bonita, anybody knows what bonita means for the most part.
It's different for everyone too.
Yeah.
So it's inclusive.
Exactly. So first, I wanted to say Proyecto Bonita. And I tossed it around with like my little focus group, which is my friends. And they're like, And I was like, okay, what about the Bonita Project? Because there was another company too that's out here that is the Peralta Project. It's this Dominican guy who has he's an artist, and he has like an art gallery slash studio of sorts. I don't know if it's still there, but it's in Uptown, and I had been following him already, and I remember the Peralta Project, and I was like, okay, so what if it's like the Bonita Project? I kind of liked that. And then when I tossed that name around, they were like, okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, yeah, cute. I'm like, okay, because I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about an ongoing project that's always being worked on, because it could also mean, like, I think people were also like, it kind of feels like a nonprofit, Danny. Like, what if people get confused and think it's a nonprofit? I'm like, okay, no, it's not a nonprofit, but hey, we're doing the community work. I always wanted to do the work for the community, amplify the community, and have it serve as an educational platform. Like, that was always my goal with the name and like the company. So I said, okay. So we landed on the Bonita Project. I filed for an LLC, I think in early January, and it took only 3 or 4 weeks to get it approved. So like by end of January or like early February, I think on Grammys night, and that's in February, I found out that like I got approved. I'm like, okay. Once that was set, I'm like, all right, now I can really do my exit. So like now I can leave. Now I can leave my job and like start this consulting journey of mine. So in March, on International Women's Day, that was my last day at work. I mean, everything, I'm not even playing. Like, everything was pretty intentional with the way I was like, okay, I have to map everything out and just do this right. And then I left in March. And then, yeah, And then we didn't launch the actual platform, though, until July. Because I also wanted to be respectful and courteous of my previous employer. Like, I don't want her to be like, peace. And then it's like, okay, here I am with, like, you know, my own company. I was like, wait a minute. Because no one knew. It was a secret. Some people knew. Some people, like my inner circle knew. Right. My focus group, my family, my boyfriend. But no one else really knew that, like, what I was really scheming. So I kept it very hush-hush, and I waited a few months, and then in July of 2018 is when I announced it to the world on Instagram. You know, that's before TikTok. Instagram, I made a page for it, and then everything else is, you know, history.
No, I love that. And it's very interesting because hearing you talk about, you know, your beginnings, right? And talking about how you didn't want necessarily the LATAM focus to follow you, but in a way you still maintained that connection, that multicultural connection, while still being intentional. So talk about the initial vision for the Bonita project and how it's evolved, because I know you mentioned it started off as PR, but now you're doing much more than that, and it's very clear in the work that you've put out there.
Yeah. So I do want to say before that, it's because you just reminded me. So I wanted to preface that even though I didn't want to do like LATAM or multicultural work at the beginning when I was at my former spot, like it opened my eyes that it's needed. So like I actually ended up growing a passion for it while I was working at this other place, and the challenges it came with. So I was like, okay, that's why I wanted to like branch out and do this with TBP. And with TBP, I still wanted to work in beauty. I mean, that beauty hasn't left us at all. I mean, that's what I know best. But at the end of the day, we've done projects with other types of brands. We've worked with spirit brands. We've worked with fashion brands, jewelry brands, even talent. But I wanted to first, like the Instagram, when you look at our social page, you see an inclusive group of people doing what we do. Because, and I'll get to the work that we do with the client stuff in a second, but like when it comes to our page, like not for nothing, when you think of a PR girl or like a girl that works in PR and lives in the city, what does she look like for real? Like what does the image that she carry? She looks like a Samantha Jones, but a lot younger. You know, like she looks like there's an image to those girls.
There's a mold of sorts.
There's a mold of sorts, exactly. Even where I worked before, like there was a mold. Everybody looked the same, and I'll leave it at that. And I, you know, even though it started with me, and as slowly as I started bringing on people into my team, I wanted to make sure that there was always a diverse portfolio of different Latinas that can bring different perspectives, because that's also very important. Like we're such a nuanced community, and I think that's where the challenge comes with like when we have to educate brands. It's like, you're Colombian, I'm Peruvian. Yes, we can speak Spanish. We love Latin food. We like probably the same artists, but that doesn't mean necessarily that we're exactly the same. Like there's
even within the same countries,
exactly,
there are drastic differences too.
And that's the thing, when you go back to Peru or you go back to Colombia, you're Colombian first before you can say I'm Latina. Like you're saying I'm Colombian, I'm Peruvian. Here we're saying I'm Latina and I'm proud of it, you know. But in Peru, you're not really saying that. In Peru, you're saying I'm Peruvian. Like I'm
in.
Right. Like you're not. So anywho, so with Bonita, like I wanted. When we started the Instagram, it was a test and learn. I was like, yeah, see, post that. I wasn't like anything that hit and that would work. Okay, let's do it. And then thankfully there was a girl, and I'm going to give her a deserved shout out, Ivy Morales, which I'm sure you've met through my team. So she accidentally just started working with me, and she wanted to help me, and she started as an intern, and now she's like a full on, you know, employee of mine, and she works with me. And she saw the vision from the very start, and she was like, Danny, I want to help you with your social. I'm like, yeah, let's do it, because she's also a content creator. She's a travel content creator. So we slowly started doing content, like even before video was very much a thing, because this is also pre-TikTok. This is in 2018 when it was just like, you post cute pictures and like make the grid look pretty. Like that's what it was. But we wanted to, like, we were going out, for instance, like from the very start of the TBP Instagram, we wanted to highlight different Latin American Independence Days. So we started with Colombia, for instance. Because you guys are like July 19th.
July 20th.
Oh, July 20th. Okay, close.
Y Peru es 28 de julio, ¿no?
Yes,
The day
yes,
after
yes,
my
yes.
birthday. That's how I remember.
Okay, I was close. Damn it. So, we went out to Queens. Queens has such an enormous, diverse Colombian community. Well, it's just diverse community in general, but like such an enormous Colombian community. So we went out to Queens and we did some interviews with like local businesses. And this one friend of mine who actually is she's a journalist. She used to work at People en Español and is now in LATV. In LA, but she's Colombian, so we interviewed her. So we were doing these sound bites before. I'm not saying like before anyone was doing it, but we were like going out into like Queens. We ended up going to Paterson, New Jersey to do interviews for the Peruvian Independence Day. So we were collecting these sound bites and video clips to then post on our page. Was it getting a lot of traction? Not that much, but I kind of wanted to set the tone like, okay, TBP, yes, we're a marketing PR agency, but at the same time, we want to use this as an opportunity to just educate. So for instance, like my non-POC clients or brands that maybe want to like look into like what does the Bonita Project do? What do they stand for? How do they understand the market, the community? Well, we have we have this content that serves a purpose. There's a purpose behind this content. So like, and I respect journalists so much, Cata. Like, I think, like, there's something in that in me. I'm not a journalist, per se. I did take a reporting class in college, and I loved, and which, by the way, was one of the hardest classes at UF, reporting. If you went to UF, you know, and if you majored in PR, you know this. But I actually, I got to be in the class, but I liked it. I liked it a lot because it challenged you. Every week you needed to come out with a story and actually go out and like interview people. So like I was bringing that to TBP. And then with the work that we did, I started working with a beauty brand and a fashion incubator. My very first client was Farsali, which is a beauty brand that, if you know, beauty went viral in 2016, 2017, and they were doing very well at the time. And I will always owe it to that man, Sal. His name is Sal Ali. He's the founder of Farsali, and he gave me the opportunity to bring me on as his PR for the last 6 months of 2018 we worked together, and I was doing everything from like pitching, like everything like I was doing at my old job, but I was doing it myself with no one like micromanaging me and like controlling over me. And the thing is, since he was my one and only client, like I went above and beyond for this man, like for this brand. I really, really did. And that's one thing that he actually told me. He's like, the reason why I chose your agency, even though you're starting out, is like I can hear your hunger and I know that you're gonna do better. Like you're gonna care for my brand more than probably just another agency that's charging me a crazy ass retainer and it's not gonna care as much. So that meant a lot to me. So I started working with Farsali and then slowly started doing like projects with other beauty brands. I did a project with Clinique, I did a project with Bobbi Brown, and this was my first year in, but like little one-off projects. And then come 2019, I started working with Latina-owned brands, because then Latina-owned brands became such a conversation online. I feel like between 2018 and 2019, it was like a boom. You had I think Risol's Curls had launched in 2018, but they started making a lot of noise in 2019. I did not work with Risol's Curls, but shout out to Risol's and Julissa Prado. Like, she's doing amazing. But at the time, I started working with Alamar Cosmetics, which is a makeup brand launched by a Cuban American. Her name is Gabby Trujillo, based out of Miami. I worked with a curly hair line that no longer exists, but it was called Botanica Beauty, also owned by an Afro-Latina. So, like, I was dabbling with Latina-owned this, Latina-owned that, and like that made me also even more passionate to like, okay, we need to support our stories and our our small businesses that like are trying to create magic and like actually serve our communities with our beauty needs. So the fact that I was able to be a part of that conversation really was honestly like special. So with that, like traditional PR was like my biggest push at the beginning. However, influencer marketing, for those that like, what is that? Like, influencer marketing has now turned into a whole big thing because PR has now evolved. PR is no longer what it used to be. PR was you talking to like me talking to journalists, me talking to beauty writers to get our clients in the press, get them featured in the magazines, in the digital magazines, because I mean print magazine, there's not much of that left yet anymore. But then with influencer, you know, that, I mean, thankfully I started learning and dabbling with influencers like even before I launched Bonita. Like I was already building that part of my network too, a lot with like Latina influencers. And then fast forward with Bonita, I I was pitching influencers and creatives to brands like Clinique to do paid campaigns. So that started to become like a bread and butter of mine, like a good business push for me, honestly. And then now, fast forward to 2025, which I can't even believe it's 2025. That's where I'm pretty much doing full on is influencer. I mean, PR is I kind of miss the old PR. I'm not gonna lie, like what it used to be. But you know, with everything, things evolve. I always say like this beauty consumer, since I'm still stuck in the beauty space. This beauty consumer is no longer getting their tips and learning about beauty by looking at a mag or reading a magazine. No one, unfortunately, isn't reading as they used to.
First-hand accounts.
Right. They want to see tutorials. They want to see reviews. They want to hear it from the person themselves. Like how does this product work on your face? Like things like that. Like, so that's where we come in, and TBP, I will say, has infiltrated themselves in the industry as like an agency that is very tapped in with a lot of BIPOC creatives, not even just Latinx creatives anymore. Like we work a lot with like different BIPOC creatives from different cities. And it's important for us to like, just again, going back to education, and like brands will come to us and be like, okay, look, like for example, they'll be like, we have a launch coming out. We want to do a paid campaign with a certain amount of influencers to promote this new launch. This is our budget. Who do you recommend? Like put together like a proposal of like recommended faces. So we study the brand. We study like, okay, what could make sense for this? And we put together like a proposal based on that of different, basically like casting creatives, like casting influencers. Like, okay, these are our recommendations based on this, this, and this that fit within budget, you know? And then and a lot of the times I have to say, like, we have opened doors to influencers that have never probably even gotten paid before, but we're just putting them on the map in a way. Of course, like, you know, we get the challenge of like, oh, well, we want influencers with like a big reach or influencers with like a big following, and I'm like, okay, well, do you have the budget for that? Like, is there money? Because we need money. Like, that's not cheap. Like, you know, so anyway, but other than that, like I think with micro creators in general, like we're very big on pushing. I even don't like to say the word micro, but it's just, again, it's like an industry term. But you know, a lot of young talent that's like growing, especially on TikTok. Like we actually look at TikTok now more than ever because that's like our Google search engine. Mm-hmm. We look at TikTok to find talent, to see what the kids are saying. Like we're doing the social listening. And then that's how we basically pull talent to, you know, introduce to brands and then make these campaigns happen.
Mm-hmm. I want to call out two things. We'll come back to the influencer marketing and creator space in a moment, but something that I'm noticing is consistent throughout your journey is not only the evolution as a result of the passion that you continue to push forward, but the hunger that your first client called out. And what that looks like is you're not afraid to go into the trenches, whether that's interviewing people in Queens or Jersey or traveling for the events that you travel for. Talk about what a day in the life looks like. I'm sure one day compared to another is completely different, but based on what you show on social media, you're not afraid to literally roll up your sleeves, pack the boxes, travel for your client, put in the work and the market research. So tell us about that and what goes into that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll share an example of like what earlier this week looked like. So when it's production at TBP and there's an event, like I kid you not, I am chaos. I don't try to bring chaos at home, but sometimes inevitably it does happen because it's just like it's chaotic. But a day in the life, I mean, in production mode, like obviously early call time. Even sometimes you have to sacrifice a weekend because like if like for instance in my case, I had production starting on Monday for an event. And I was working all weekend, you know, like I was up to Sunday night packing the car. I had to get a rental, pack the car with like all the goodie bags that we were going to hand out to influencers, pack them in the car, the product, everything So it's like, yeah, it's very hands-on. Like I don't have anyone else doing it. I have my fiance who's helping me like pack the car. I'm like, Eduardo, please come with me to storage. I have to get all the stuff, pack it in the car. And it's like, you can't forget anything because especially like when you work in production, because that's another piece of what I do, right? Aside from influencer is like the production piece is like putting together events. So I have to carry like a checklist mentally on my phone. Like, okay, I have to make sure I don't forget anything. Because at the end of the day, details matter when you work in this space. Like any event that you go to, especially like when you get invited to a press event, when you get invited to a creator event, whatever the case may be, just think about the people that are producing it behind the scenes because there's a lot that goes into it. So like for me, for instance, even if it's like I'm producing like an influencer dinner, in the dinner is not till 7 p.m. I am working from the morning of like to make sure everything goes on flawlessly. So yeah, so like for instance, earlier this week, Sunday was a matter of making sure we had everything, packing the car. Monday was go, go, go. And I am on email. So sometimes that's the thing too. Like while I'm like in the zone for one client and producing an event for this one client, I do have other clients like emailing me sometimes. They don't know that I'm in production mode. So the thing with me is like I do my best in over communicating and letting people know like, listen, I'm giving you a heads up. I'm gonna be on said day because I'm gonna be in production. So like if you don't hear from me, like thankfully I have a team that you can report to and you can ask questions to, but I'm most likely will be slow to respond to your email. So my out of office is up and and ready to go because I'm like, but then people sometimes like there's an emergency, a fire drill, like shit, like I gotta join this call. Like if there's another client and like they need to get on a call, I gotta put a pause and figure out like, okay, I need to join this call. So things like that have happened to me before. Thankfully, it didn't happen this week, but it's sometimes hard to if a fire drill happens and the client is like, I need to get on a call with you now, and it's like, shoot, okay, I have to learn how to delegate and like be like, okay, hold on. Yes, let's get on a call while and then I'll get to my production in a second. So like those things have happened. It's stressful. It's like a very high stress environment at times that I guess a lot of people don't see. I'm not always posting that on camera. Cause yeah, it's and my fiance is always like joking with me. He's like, Danny, you stress me out sometimes because I live a bit of a chaotic life. And sometimes I do have to like step back and say like, oh my God, is this going to be my life forever? Like, I hope not. I hope not. But for now, I'm riding with it. I enjoy it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know where, de donde saco la energía. Like, I don't know where I take out the energy, but I have to, because it's my name. It's my business on the line. I need to make a good impression with every event. God forbid something goes wrong. Like, Diosito, like, I'm always, like, giving a little prayer before any big event. And I tell my mom, too, please pray for me, mommy, please. And she's like, yes, of course. Mom's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, pray for me. I need to make sure this looks good. So in between that, like I'm sharing an example of like what a day-to-day looks like when you're in production mode. Yeah. So, the first half of the day is production, make sure everything looks cute, and then change and doll yourself up to then show face and have energy to now like entertain people. Oh my God. By the end of Tuesday, Cata, because it was a back-to-back production, I was done. Like today, I had to sleep in a little. I'm drained because I was working nonstop for almost 2 days straight. Production, 3 events in one day I did on Tuesday.
Una dura.
I did a breakfast, starting a breakfast at 9 a.m., an influencer breakfast, then followed by another event, which I can't say just yet, but it was like a launch event. Then at night, a dinner. So it was literally back to back. I don't normally get those type of productions all the time, but it's so funny that this week it did. And it was draining. It was really draining. And that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, you want to hear the validation from the client. Like, what are your thoughts? What do you think? The client's like, oh no, everything turned out great, Danny. Like, thank you. You want to hear that thank you. Like, oh my. And so then, okay, I did a good job. My job here is done. Great. Then the breakdown happens. You have to break everything down. And then once again, pack the car again. Drop off the rental. Yeah. So those are things that I also do aside from just being on email. Of course. Because I am, for the most part, I'm on email. And
you're on socials.
And I'm on social. So trying to find the time to do that. Like actually this time around that I was doing this production, I was filming myself doing everything because I'm like, okay, I am going to do a day in the life. Because it's funny because I've heard from other people. They're like, Danny, can you do more a day in the life? Because what does your day in the life look like? But I'm like, well, I'll be honest. Like, there's some weeks that are super boring. What am I going to talk about and yap about? But on days like this where I'm doing everything from ironing, I'm literally ironing. I was ironing clothes for influencers on Monday.
I'm laughing because I remember seeing one of your recent Get Ready With Me, and you're like, I don't know how you creators do it because this is exhausting.
No, this is exhausting. I'm already stressed out. I'm like, okay, to find the time to then edit the video, I'm like, listen, I have to give it to those creators that do that. That's a lot of work. I don't, by the end of the day, I'm mentally like drained. Like I'm exhausted.
You're human. Even though you're a superwoman, you are also human at the end of the day. I want to give a shout out to your team because I know you said you started this out on your own, but you've evolved, you've grown. Talk about who is part of your team. Let's give some shout outs. What do they do that without their help would not, make the Bonita project the same?
Okay, so starting with Ivy, I briefly mentioned Ivy. Ivy is my rag or die. Like, she is my rag or die because she met me when I was literally in the trenches. Actually, I do have a funny story about me and her and I meeting. So Ivy slid into my DMs in 2018, right around the time that I launched, when I left my old job, even though nobody knew about TBP yet. But she slid into my DMs and she said something super sweet. I think something along the lines of like, oh my God, you're amazing. I don't know. No sé qué me dijo, but she was very sweet. And she and it triggered like me to respond, to be like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, would you want to grab coffee sometime? And she's like, yeah, let's grab coffee. Like, she was all for it. So I at the time was co-working at the Wing. Do you remember the Wing?
I wasn't here back then.
Okay.
I came to New York in 2021, so I'm not sure if that still exists or if it was around then.
It does not. But it was a co-working space. It was like for all women, and it was like a thing. But then they kind of had like a they shut down. But anywho, I was co-working from there. I had her meet me there, and everything was going smooth. Like the first 10 minutes we meet, and I was like, I got inspired to be like, oh, and let me show you a presentation that I put together. I want to show you a little bit about the Bonita project. Because I think, I was like designing the logo still. I don't know. No sé qué le quería enseñar. Like I wanted to show her something on my computer. I flip my computer and it's not turning on. It's like, oh, that's weird. Let me plug it in and see if it turns on. Maybe it's dead. So I plug it in. I'm giving it a minute, 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is weird. It's not turning on. Now I'm like low-key panicking in front of this girl that I've met for the first time like 10 minutes ago. I'm like, okay, hold on, let me see. And I'm panicking, pressing all the buttons. And she was like, maybe you should call Apple. I'm like, yeah, let me call Apple. So I call Apple, and Apple's like, yeah, you're gonna need to bring it in because they give you all the tests to try on your Mac, and it's like not working. They're like, yeah, you're gonna need to bring it in.
And the first question's always like, did you try shutting it down?
Yeah.
Like, bro, do you think I'd be calling you if I didn't already try that? Thank you.
No. I was like, I'm sorry, Ivy, I have to go. Like, I have to go to Apple. Like, this is not okay. And she was like, oh my God, no worries, I'll go with you. I was like, okay. So she came with me on it. We got in an Uber. We're on our way to the Apple store in Williamsburg. She comes with me and we're having small talk, and I'm learning about her, but my head is obviously, my brain's in my laptop. Like, what's going, like, but I'm still like trying to have small conversation with her. But the fact that she came with me to the Apple store, and then at the Apple store I find out that my computer is basically dead. Like, they were like, oh, you need to change the entire, like, everything did you back up your laptop? I'm like, I did not. They're like, okay, so everything,
we've all been there.
you're gonna lose everything. Oh my God. I'm like trying to like not have a meltdown. Mind you, I'm like what, a month or 2 months in with Bonita project, and this is the type of shit that, like, this is one of the first I'm like, okay, so this is how the universe is going to welcome me to my entrepreneurship journey. I'm like, okay, now I need to cough up money for a new laptop. Oh my God, que no me pasó those first few months. Like, but then anyways, Ivy was like, if you need anything, and then she offered, she's like, if you ever want or if you're ever looking for an intern, I'm going to be around this summer. And, and I was like, well, I don't know if I can pay you because I have one client. I have Farsali.
And a laptop to get.
And a laptop. I'm like, she's like, no, but I want to learn. I'm like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. I was like, pero pobrecita. I was like, okay, I can see her for like 2 more months. And then she hits me up again. And she's like, hey, like now, like it was like approaching summertime. Because this happened in like April. And she hits me up and she's like, oh, my offer still stands if you need interns. And I was like, I was like, look, I'm like, Ivy, I don't think I can pay you at this time, but I'm happy to compensate you with like a stipend of sorts. I don't even know what I said, but I was like, basically like, look, I'm being very transparent. I don't have much here, but if you listen, I would appreciate a second of other hands. Like, she's like, okay, yes. She signs up and got that till this day. She works with me. Obviously now she's paid and she's a full-on travel creator. Go follow her, Latina Chic Travels. She's traveled like I don't know how many gazillion countries, but she's gone everywhere around the world. And now she's my ride or die. Like, she helps me. She understands my vision. I always be sending brain dump, like word vomit texts. I'm like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. And she manages to get it done. And she has seen me in high stress moments and she brings me peace. She brings me calm. So that's Ivy. Then followed by my two other girls, you have Natalie and Cassandra. Natalie is, both of them graduated from college and first started as interns at TBP before graduation. They graduated and then they're still with me, which I'm very blessed to say. Like, that means I'm doing something right, or they're at peace, they're happy, they feel comfortable enough to like not have left me yet. I mean, I'm counting down the day that does happen because they need to grow, they need to at least spread their wings and go somewhere. But I always do my check-ins with them. I'm like, how do you feel? They're like, Danny, no, we're good. I'm good. And then it's also like with Gen Z, this is a generation that graduated remotely, basically. Like they were for a year they didn't go to school. Like they were not going on campus in person. So they work from home. They're chilling, they're happy. But when it's time for production and when we do events, whether it's in Miami, we've done events in Houston now, in Texas, in LA, I meet with them, they come with me, and they're also in the trenches with me. It's not just me anymore, thankfully. So there's Natalie and Cassandra, my Gen Z babies. And then my latest hire is Brian.
Love him.
Brian is, he was also a former intern. And in 2021, he was with me for like 2 or 3 months. He like interned for a bit. And then he was off to do his content creation journey. But fast forward to last year, I was like, we both needed support. Like, I think he was looking for a job. I was like, well, I mean, I need help. If you want to help, I will say this isn't like, you are the creator. Now you're going to see the behind the scenes of all the BS I have to deal with. And he signed up for it. So now he's like, helping me behind the scenes too. And he's had to pack the PR boxes.
Oh, I've seen.
He's packing, he's doing events. And he's a fun time. And of course with social, like he brings the energy that I want to bring. And I think with Bonita going back to the social, like it's important for me to keep it young and vibrant. And even though I always say I'm like the millennial fart of the group.
We're important too.
Yeah, we're important too. But like, they keep me up to speed with what the trends are. Sometimes I'm like, what, who, what's the new lingo? Your body's tea.
The whole face card thing.
The face card. Who are the new artists that we're listening to now? I mean, even though, I've always had, I think I have good taste in music. I listen to a little bit of everything, but they always put me up to speed with like what the trends are and things like that. So that I'm very grateful for.
I love that.
Yeah.
Going back to influencer marketing, the creator space, the trends, the brands. I know that the Bonita Project was behind the Bad Bunny residency, At the Door, Los Pleneros, one of the many things that you are behind. I'm curious first of all, tell us about that, but also how do you decide which creators and which brands to partner with? Is there kind of like a mental checklist of they have to be open to multicultural, right? Like you tell me, what is it that you look for? How do you know it's a good fit?
So far, I've been very grateful to work with Latinas that are at these companies that have vouched for me and have allowed me to have a seat at their table. Like starting with Urban Decay, they were the very first brand that put me on retainer, for not just like a one-off project. And that's hard to find too because we're not in many places, I'll be honest. Because I've done one-off projects for like other brands, but there's not enough Latina representation internally. But hey, they recognize there's a need, and then that's where they bring me on. But just for like we'll do a one-off project, not consistently. And then in this case, with the current clients like Urban and L'Oreal Paris, I have to give a deserved shout out to the women that are behind the scenes there, because there are Latinas behind the scenes there that have rooted for me. And I would assume, I mean, yeah, I think thanks to them, I was able to start working with them. I mean, yes, it's really hard to these days to like, I have to say, like, for instance, like a brand like Tarte, who gets into drama after drama after drama, and they are seen as, I mean, everyone loves the drama. At the same time, it's like you give this brand so much backlash, but yet you're consuming it. So like, okay, but like if they were to knock on my door, I would probably feel a little hesitant to like even entertain that conversation, because it's like, even though there's good money there, like, do I, it's hard. It's a really hard decision to make, because then also it's like there's other brands too. No one's safe, especially with certain brands too, because there's always a brand getting backlash too. And like you as someone that's like been so careful about taking care of my brand and my image too, because now I have an image. Like, I don't want to be caught in someone else's mess because I took them on as a client. And what if they want to clean up their mess, and then it's like, oh, let's hire them as PR to clean up our mess. Tampoco así. Like, so it's really hard to like to dabble in that space. And there are certain beauty brands that I do get nervous about. Like, if they ever reach out, I'm like, shoot, like, what do I do? Like, do I entertain it? But then I need money. It's like, oh my God. Like, you want to stay ethical too with your stuff. Like, you know, but in this case with Urban and L'Oreal Paris, it makes me happy to know that like I am working with other Latinas. Like, for instance, the Bad Bunny stunt that happened.
Tell us more about that.
I know you. So I do want to give credit to, like, there was multiple Latinas involved for that stunt. You had the L'Oreal Paris PR team, the brand engagement team. There are Latinas. You have a Dominican woman working there, a Cuban woman working there, and then also these other two Puerto Rican women that are also helping with the project that are based out of Puerto Rico. So, like, it was a combined effort of many Latinas that were able to bring that idea together. And the fact that they chose TBP to execute, because the idea was already there. They were like, TBP is going to execute it. I said, say no more. I would be honored. Like, I know. I mean, again, anything Bad Bunny is going to break the internet. People are going to.
For those who don't know, tell us a little. I mean, obviously, I know I was the one who brought it up, but what exactly did you guys do?
So, okay, so we all saw Bad Bunny announced his residency in Puerto Rico. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I don't know.
Okay, I wish that for your future.
It's TBD. It's TBD. But Bad Bunny announced his residency in Puerto Rico. So L'Oreal wants to take out influencers to the Bad Bunny concert, and they wanted to surprise them with a parranda band. So I kid you not, it was like a 48-hour turnaround. I had to find the parranda band in New York City in January. I think this was also just after his Jimmy Fallon show. Mm-hmm. So he was seen with the parranda band there. But that parranda band came from Puerto Rico. So I needed to find musicians that were based here. I'm like, who is going to be available? And there was a whole thing. So like sourcing the pleneros, and then also finding out their availability to see if we can do a day of drop-ins or influencer drops throughout one day. And this was all mapped out on a Sunday. And like, I kid you not, everything came together in like 48 hours because it was go. Identifying who, you know, the influencers. Yes, we took a big piece in it, but also it was, again, a combined effort with the client. It was like about seven influencers, and a lot of them were based between here and New Jersey. So it was like surprising them at their door with this. They had no idea. So also communicating with their management teams, like, hey, heads up, like, we plan on surprising so-and-so with an invite to this. Is she going to be in town during those dates? Because we obviously want to make sure she's also. So it's like a lot of things that you need to make sure of and plan ahead. And yeah, they confirmed that they were like, yeah. She's, you know, they're here. If they were here, they were going to be in town. We were going to pull up to their door. And it's like, it was a full day of driving around New Jersey. An entire day of driving around New Jersey with the guys. But it was fun. It was, wow. It was a very unique experience. I was an honorary Puerto Rican for the day. We put together these boxes with musical instruments from Puerto Rico that we bought from a Puerto Rican shop in Bushwick, which is where I live. Bushwick for those that don't know, Bushwick was a very predominantly Puerto Rican neighborhood, but obviously with gentrification, they've slowly gotten pushed out a little bit. But there's still a vibrant Puerto Rican community in Bushwick. It's not just as bold as it was before, I think. But I mean, there's still small businesses that are still in the area that when I learned about that, I was like, no, we have to support them. Like, we should definitely be buying stuff from this shop. Like, again, everything that we do, it's important for us, but also in general, like, now is the time to be super intentional with the work that we do. So like if I can do that, and like, we and when we delivered those boxes, like some of the girls actually legitimately cried. Like they were like crying on camera. It was a whole thing. I'm crying with them. No. It was a beautiful surprise. The residency is coming up.
Yes, it is.
So are you going?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
6-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
Those who were involved in that, they know, of getting tickets. But yes, fortunately, I'm going to go. I was very delusional to think that I could get in this month, the month that he's in Puerto Rico, because also my birthday, whatever. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just happy to be there, whatever date. So I will be there in September. I hope that you get to experience it as well.
Yes. I mean, he announced his global tour, and I saw that he's going to Peru, and I was like, man, if I can get some tickets in Peru, that would be amazing. That would be so awesome.
Let's speak it into existence.
So
I wish that for you.
Let's see. No, that was a beautiful thing, a beautiful project. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Speaking of intentionality, right? I know that obviamente está the Bonita project, but you also have very important initiatives like Bonita Amplifies and now the Bonita Network. Tell us about those both. What they do, what the vision is, and what your goal is to get it out there.
Yeah. So Bonita Amplifies started in 2023 as a need for us to basically support BIPOC creatives that don't get the deserved recognition in the industry. Because as we were doing the social listening on TikTok, and I mean, for the most part on TikTok, a lot of the times we hear that, the creators that we follow, or like a lot of the creators that we know, are not getting the invites to the events. They're not getting the mailers. They're not getting the paid moments, the paid campaigns. So I was like, and I get it. Like I've also had to be the one making those invite lists sometimes for brands, and it goes through levels of approval, like it goes through like just levels of shit that like sometimes people don't get accepted to the final invite list type of thing. It be like that, So it's, we've seen it. I've had to do it firsthand myself, and it sucks. And I was like, what if we start an initiative that supports BIPOC creatives that are like trying to make those connections and give them a free space to like network? So it started with like a grant, and it also started with a networking mixer, and that was at the beginning of 2023, and we did it during Black History Month. And even from the inception of TBP, like even though yes, we are Latinas and like we are a Latinx owned agency, we also want to amplify for other voices and like highlight them always. And even BHM, like we have done a big effort in like highlighting that moment as well at the company. And so during Black History Month in 2023, we kicked off our very first Bonita Amplifies networking mixer, and it was amazing. It was a test and learn. We invited we invited a ton of creators, but I think we ended up getting like 80 people to show up at the event for being a first time event, and a lot of people that showed up were creators, but also half of the room. So the intention with the Bonita Amplifies mixer is half of it is creators, and then the other half is industry people, with the whole concept that they can get to connect and meet with one another, and they're not paying a price tag to attend this event. This event is curated in like invite only, but it's a curated list done by us, by the team. And we're not charging tickets for this. If anything, we're charging brands to get involved and help us pay for like the venue, the food, the DJ, things like that. We need sponsorship money, and actually Urban Decay sponsored it for us, and that was amazing. So Urban Decay helped us with the very first Bonita Amplifies mixer, and we had such a great turnout, and then we continued to do it. So we did it again for Pride Month, and we did it in New York. And same concept, like a safe space for queer creatives to come connect with industry folks. And a lot of these creatives that were coming to these events, I met them for the first time, and I still engage with them till this day. Like we still fall, like we support one another. It's like it has opened many doors. And I do truly do like producing events. Like I talk about the PR work that I've done, the influencer work that I do, but I also kind of miss the fact that I do events as well for a living. Like that's also a big piece of my bread and butter. And I enjoy it sometimes. I do enjoy it sometimes. But when it's like events like that, like I do have a passion for it. It's like producing, I like it. The intentionality, the details, like, okay, like we want to make sure this event, when you walk in, I don't want someone to say like, oh, like, I don't feel seen here, or like this is uncomfortable. Like I'm sure you've been. There are events that I walked into that I'm like, okay, who am I gonna talk to here? Is anyone gonna give me the time of day? Okay, and I've heard that kind of feedback from creatives too. Like I don't want, when you come to a Bonita event, that's not the feeling. I don't want that feeling at all, please. If I ever get a feedback like that, I'm gonna feel like shit. Like I'm gonna say, okay, something went wrong here. What? But no, so far till this day, like all the events, everybody leaves thankful, happy. Again, we're not charging money for these tickets, so like it's like it was a good time spent, and a brand covered it. So we did one also for Latinx Heritage Month, and little by little, this year we did one for BHM for Black History Month. We did it in Philly. So after the first year that we did all the events in New York, we decided to branch out and take it to other cities too, because other cities also need to be seen. Events shouldn't just be New York and LA. There's other markets that matter. So we took it to Philly. Wow, Philly, we had well over 100 people show up, and we had such an overwhelming response, and like people like loved it, and Philly creatives. And this was also the same time where Philly won the Super Bowl. So it was like divine timing. And there's a lot of Black creatives in Philly, and they were telling us in the room, like, yeah, we don't ever get events like this in Philadelphia. And if anything, we have to drive to New York to attend like a press event, or like just a general cool event. So I'm like, well, that's music to my ears that we were able to make that work. But then for Pride, unfortunately, due to funding, and a lot of brands have cut back, we were not able to get sponsorship this year, unfortunately. So we were not able to do our usual Pride event, which I'm a little sad about, I'm not gonna lie. But come Latinx Heritage Month, I hope that we can do this again. I mean, when we do these events, it's not like it's not segmented like, oh, Latinos and only the Black creators here. No, everybody gets invited. Everybody should get invited, But yes, we're celebrating a different culture moment for each event.
Absolutely.
So that's that. And then fast forward to the Bonita Network. That is our ongoing baby that we keep growing and growing. So again, coming from the need of like trying to bring on influencers and creatives that don't have management, are not getting the right type of access, we've welcomed them to apply to our network, and we go through this vetting process of like letting them, either they get approved or not. We're looking for creatives that basically are consistent and posting on either platform, TikTok or Instagram. They don't have to have a gazillion followers, as long as they're being super consistent with their content. If right now we're hyper focusing on beauty, just because those are the brands that we're servicing right now. If you're a beauty content creator, you're posting consistently, you are all about community, things like that, and you just have an overall great platform in our lens, like we are going to add you to the network, and you're going to have firsthand access to, like, for instance, like if we have a paid campaign that could be a fit for some of you girls, we're going to share it with you first before we start doing outreach elsewhere. And a lot of influencers or a lot of creators that are within our network have actually gotten paid through opportunities through us. And like, you don't have to pay anything to be a part of a network. It's just a list that we have. It's like a database that we have now. And that we look at it as like our go-to list to like invite to events, receive mailers, like, for instance, like Urban Decay had a pop-up a couple of months ago in different cities across LA, San Diego, and Vegas. And we reached out to our network, and it was like, guys, our client has a pop-up. If you want to pull up, come out, free goodies, this and that. The network showed up. Like when the client's telling me like, Danny, your Bonita's pulled up to the pop-up, I'm like, hell yeah. Like that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And it's like these girls, and just not just girls, it's just creatives, these young creatives that want to be seen and want to have access to these opportunities. So that brings me joy. And the fact that my girls too, like, and shout out to Cassandra, because Cassandra's my other Gen Z baby, but also a creator. She's also very passionate about this, and she's been able to help me grow the network and Bonita amplifies. It's not, I don't want to take full credit, because this has been a combined effort with me and my girls, and they see the vision, they see it, and yeah. And
I love that. You just mentioned something that I think is worth diving into, which is considering a platform complete or worthwhile or worth looking into. What tips do you have for any creators currently listening, or someone who wants to become a creator, so that they start attracting the eyes of someone like you, or brands, so that they can start collaborating with these opportunities, for example?
Well, for the most part, I think, I would say, like, if you're doing content and you're starting out and you're trying to build a relationship with brands, you always want to tag. Yeah, you can tag the brands, but like, for instance, the girls that tag us, that tag me, or like not me necessarily, but the Bonita project, because they have seen that we work with the brand, that obviously helps us like notice your content. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'll check out your video, and then I'm like, okay, FYI, I just got tagged in this video. We should probably consider this person to be added to like the next list. If she's already posting like organic content featuring the brand, like maybe something to consider, let's send her a gift. So, I mean, that's an obvious, but make sure maybe you can also look into seeing like who are the PR or the marketing agencies behind the brands. I know that's a bit of a harder find, but you'd be surprised. Like, you'd definitely be surprised just by even like looking on Google to seeing like, okay, which agencies are working with each brand. And a lot of these agencies have Instagram platforms. You just tag the agency. Who cares? I do get a lot of DMs too, and it's okay. Like, at first I was not a huge fan of getting like DM pitches, because it can be overwhelming, and then it'll eventually get lost, and then I feel bad, and it's like, oops, I missed your DM. But it's never it's never bad. Like, I think nowadays you can totally slide into someone's DM and introduce yourself. I think that's where we start too, and like even sending an email. I'm a big email person, call me an OG, but the thing is, I won't lose your email. I'm gonna lose your DM, because the DM is gonna get like flooded with all the other DMs that come in, and just the reactions from people on on your stories. So I would say, even too, like, if you want to get noticed, if it's not even online, do it via email. Send a cold pitch via email. And I've said this before, send a clean email with your portfolio, or just like, who are you? What's your background? Have you had a viral video before? And do you want to share it in the email? Like, just so that I can keep that in mind. And while I may not respond to the emails right away, I am going to save that email, or I'll forward it to one of my girls and be like, hey, heads up, I got an email. And I do that a lot. Like, I get emails from time to time from a lot of creators, and I'll skim it, I'll read it. I'm like, cool, okay, I saw their Instagram, I saw their TikTok, cool. Forward it to the girls, like, hey, by the way, check out this email. This is a creative. See where we can add her, maybe in what list that makes sense, or if maybe it doesn't make sense at this time, we'll let her know that, at this time, no. But like, at least, let's look into it. So like, an email to me is always beneficial. Email, introduce yourself. You never know who's actually going to read the email, and always follow up. It doesn't matter. Keep following up. It's fine. All of us are slammed. All of us are busy. I might not get to your email right away, but you'd be surprised. Eventually, someone's going to reply back.
Persistence is key.
Yeah, persistence is key. And it's like, because if you don't have management, and if you're a creative that's just trying to put yourself out there, you have to be your own manager. You have to be your own publicist. You have to promote yourself. You have to like organize your stuff. Like, aside from pulling out content and putting up content, you have to make those connections from scratch. And that's what, it's tough that way, but it's okay. Like, have ChatGPT help you write the email. Now you have free resources like that. Like,
Yeah.
we can have ChatGPT help write the email how you would think it would look best. Have ChatGPT, edit it for you if needed. Obviously, also, I always say, like, be smart when using ChatGPT or AI. For instance, like, I'll be honest, I use it to, like, okay, catch any mistakes, or like, am I missing a comma here? Am I missing something here? Use it to like clean up your email a little bit, but still have your voice be a part of that email because I can totally see when it's like, okay, this was AI. This is like, it's fine. You know, I get it. With kids these days, like they use AI for everything. But, you know, it's okay to use AI just to clean up your email, but still have that authentic voice within your email embedded because we can see through that.
Absolutely. No, that's important. Well, I want to congratulate you because you're coming up on 7 years, and that's a huge milestone. Aside from obviously celebrating that, what inside scoop can you potentially give us? What can we look forward to in the next couple of months or even in the next year that you can tease?
So there is a big announcement. Okay. Yeah. So Bonita is going to be announcing a new home soon. Yeah. A new home. No more remote working for me. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. So it's been a work in progress for over a year. Like literally I've been working on this space for a year. And I've kept it very hush-hush. No one knows. Except, like, if you do follow on social, you might see, like, a certain background. Like, is that her house? Is that not her house? But, yeah, we're going to be announcing a new home.
Congratulations.
Yay. And we're going to do a whole thing around it. Like, I'm actually going to do, like, a grand opening of sorts and, like, an open house. Invite people. And you'll get an invite, Cata. I want you to come and see the space. And, yeah, she's been a labor of love of mine for the past year.
That is so exciting. Salud, even though it's water. Salud por eso de verdad.
Thank you, Cata.
That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining me. Actually, let me say.
I can talk, Cata.
Me too, girl. We could be here for hours. But seriously, thank you so much. I am so proud to know you and to be supporting your vision. Acá cuentas conmigo, this space, me, lo que necesitas de verdad. Thank you for sharing your story. Last question for you. Where can people follow you?
Yeah.
Share the socials.
Yeah, so the Bonita Project is at The Bonita Project for both Instagram and TikTok. And if you want to follow my personal, which is, I post every now and then, but it's Danielle Alvarez PR.
It's worthwhile content, people.
Yeah, okay. Danielle Alvarez PR.
Amazing. Okay,
Yay.
Well, thank you again for joining me. And thank you all for listening. Catch you next time.
Bye.